go over to our gun script, and we're going to set up a public line in here, and it's going to be a public particle system. We'll call it muzzle flash. So now that's set up, we can pop that down into our shoot. Shoot command. So remember, this isn't going to be dependent on whether the raycast actually hits anything. We want it to just happen essentially every time the player hits the fire button. So that's all we need to do. We've called it a particle system, so we can just say play at that point down there. And then if I go back to my gun script system, so we can just say play at that point down there. And then if I go back to my gun script, let's make sure. Oh, okay, I'm getting an error message. Doesn't like play. Let's just double check I've got that right.
Don't play.
Yeah, I just forgot to initialize it. So there we go. Let it refresh. Yeah, getting my familiar ones by now. Now I've got it open in there, so I can just drag that particle system into there. Preview the game. Okay, I'm not getting anything happen, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to assume that the code's correct. I'm going to end the tutorial here, and then find out whether this is a problem with the screen recording or not. If it's not, if it is a problem with the screen recording, then that's the last you'll see of this tutorial. If not, then in all likelihood you'll never see this because I need to go back and re-record it. But I think it's fine. All right, create a particle system, get it all worked up, deal with it in your code, and then in the next video we're going to look at another addition to this level. Okay, let's kill some boxes. So we've already got a script worked out for this. We used it in our previous version. We created a destructibles controller, and what that did, it looked for bullets that hit its collider, and if it was a bullet that hit the collider, it just destroyed the object and instantiated a destroyed version. We're going to be using a lot of the same lines of code in this version of the script, but we're going to be using different triggers, and we're going to give the crate an amount of health so it doesn't just die straight away. It can take a few hits first. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to edit this script rather than creating a new one, but it's worth remembering that as soon as you start doing that, that is going to affect your previous scene. So if you want to keep that scene as is, or if you're worried about getting to a place where you can't get it back to how it was, then don't do that. Create a new script. It would be really, really simple. You just sort of add a new script down here. But I've got this written out, so I'm going to use this to start with. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a public float for the crates, and I'll call it health. and I'm going to make that equal to 50. Reason being that we've already set the gun up to do 10 damage, and I want the crates to take 5 hits before they're destroyed. So minus 10 from 55 times, and you'll destroy the crate. So what we're going to do, first thing we're going to do is set up a new public void, and we're going to call this take damage. And we're going to have a float within that argument. Sorry, so within the brackets here, you call this an argument, so you can add in parameters that will affect this this void within those open brackets. We've used them before. We used it here with collider.other, but this time we're passing in a float that we're going to call amount. So what we're going to do within this is we will say that health is minus equals amount. So whatever that amount ends up being, and we'll deal with that in a later date, we're going to minus that from 50 up there, and then we're going to check to see if the object has reached 0 health. So if health is less than or equal to 0, make some stuff happen. And the stuff we will make happen, just realised I've missed a semicolon there, is we're going to run another void that we are going to call die. Then this down here we can start changing to be that void. Not not dictionary, enter die. There we go. That should link up. Now this doesn't need to be an if statement anymore because we're not dealing with that there. So we can just delete those brackets, and then when our enter die. There we go. That should link up. Now this doesn't need to be an if statement anymore because we're not dealing with that there. So we can just delete those brackets, and then when our crate runs out of health, it's going to repeat those instructions that we did before. And in fact, this time, because there's no object, no sort of game object hitting it, it's going to be a raycast. We don't need to destroy that anymore. We can just say destroy this game object. Sorry, just got a text message. So they're the changes we need to make to the Destructibles controller. The rest of the stuff is going to be handled in the gun script. Message. So they're the changes we need to make to the Destructibles controller. The rest of the stuff is going to be handled in the gun script. So if we look down at our shoot void, what we're going to do here is we're going to connect to the item that we hit, and we're going to run this this take damage void by using the gun script. So we're going to set up a target. No, what we're going to do here is we're going to look for the script for the Destructibles controller. So if we start typing that, we should be able to find it. So we're calling it there, and we're going to call it target for the rest of this script. So what we're going to say is that is equal to our hit dot transform dot get component, which means we're going to grab something from the destructible that we hit, and what we're going to grab is the destructible controller, which is the C# script. No arguments on that. And then what we're going to do down here, we're going to say if target, and I'm going to write out exclamation mark equals, which means if target is not equal to null, i.e. if this happens and we get that component returned, so if we hit something with the Destructibles controller and we're able to grab that component, then we have something in this variable called target, which means it's not equal to null, which means these instructions are going to run. So now that we've done that, we can say target dot take damage equal to that damage float that we set up earlier. So if if I save that, so all right, just to run through what we've done. So we've edited this script. We've taken out our on trigger enter because we don't need that anymore. We've created a new void called take damage, which uses this amount that we grab from the gun script, minuses it from the health, and then checks to see if the health is equal to 0. If it is, then it runs die, which we're already familiar with. We've run these instructions already. And then over in our gun script, we've just added to our raycast instructions that we're looking for the destructibles controller on everything that we hit, and we're grabbing that component when we do hit it, and if we get it, then we run the take damage void from the destructibles controller. I'm going to make sure I've saved these, go back into Unity and see if I get any error messages. Oh, okay, they're my familiar ones from a previous script, so I don't need to worry about those. Play and cross your fingers. Okay, I need to deal with the fact that that muzzle flash is going off at the start. Oh, by the way, I've probably said this in the room already, but the fact that my muzzle flash does not run is an issue with me recording the screen at the same time, so it should work on yours. Okay, let's hit it. Let's hit a crate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, and we kill it. 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Missed that one at the back. There we go. Okay, there we go. We've added loads to this now. We've taken it from a very, very basic white box to making it look make it look and feel way more like a standard sort of SPF shooter that you might be familiar with. Last week we covered how to create an enemy in this environment, so I'd like you to continue with that. Get some enemies that are going to use that look at instruction and use the transform.translate instruction to move towards the player. Create a destroyed version of them so you can start blowing up things that are coming towards you rather than just crates that are sitting in that environment. All right, so you've learnt loads now. You're able to do so much in this world that you weren't at the start of this week. So do something fun with it. Create a level that is a bit more imaginative, a bit more creative, and something you can have a bit more fun with it. Good luck. Okay, let's use some models. So this is what you should have up to be at this point. What you'll need is the player controller working, so you can make the player move and strafe with the arrow keys. You can move the camera with the mouse. You can shoot using rays, and you've got the crates that burst. So if you don't have all of those things, then go back until you have, then work your way up to this point. Because in these tutorials, I'm going to assume that you have, and you may get a bit lost. That's what you need. You can see I've already started building a level using these assets from the desert environment, and all I'm doing there is I've created an empty game object called environment, and I'm throwing all of them into that, so they're all contained within one game object. So what else can I put in here? So if I go to desert environment, I've got